Hi guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I thought I would show you some easy projects, and I'm going to show you a few of the steps on how we can actually do a lot of upcycling in one day. I guess why I'm so excited to show these projects with you and what we're about to do is because I believe that most people can do this. It's amazing how quick you can do things. I think what deters a lot of people and deters me from completing a project is the length of time it takes. And some projects are worth putting in a lot of time, and it's very rewarding, but it's also very rewarding to be able to do quick and easy projects that really have that wow factor. One of the things Heather wanted is she had thrifted these shoes, and she didn't like the color of the top of them. They're a beige color. And so what we wanted to do is we're going to lightly sand these. And I'm going to show you how you can just take some sandpaper and lightly sand off a little bit of the shine to it so that we'll be able to paint them. So she gave me a bag, and she decided that the pink in the bag is the color she wants to use. So just finding a reference color, and we're going to paint them, and then we're going to put a clear coat on after we do that, which is going to allow them to be able to get that shine back. So it's a really simple way to be able to change the shoes. One of the bags that Heather had gotten thrifting, love this bag, the handle was broken, so we are going to fix this handle. So that's another project we'll complete. This little corset that Heather got, she wants to turn into a belt, but she doesn't like the color, and she gave me a piece of material, this green here, which is a very vibrant, rich green. It's very hard color to reproduce with paints, but we're going to do our best mixing a little bit of metallic silver with the green to be able to try to get a little bit of the vibrance. So it's also washable. This t-shirt, Heather loves it, but it had a little paint stain on it, which doesn't come out. So I wasn't really fond of the outline of the gray on this shirt, so I suggested to Heather that maybe we actually adjust the actual image coming out of kind of that boxy look and changing that form. So we'll see how that comes out. This is a handbag that I have, and what I've realized after having it for a while, I thrifted this, love it, all leather, is that I don't really love the color. So I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to be able to actually change up the color on this leather. This here is another carpet throw, which I'm going to show you what we can use it for to be able to make another piece of clothing. It's very exciting. This was something I had painted on one of the videos in the past, and I didn't really like the way it came out. I love the way acrylic adheres, if anyone's wondering how well it adheres to material. I actually took sandpaper to this. It's a pajama top, all cotton, and I tried to sand out to take off the acrylic, and you basically couldn't take it off. That's how hard it was to get off. It's kind of, when you get acrylic, and this has already been washed, so I just wanted to show you how it really does hold well, multiple washes. Acrylic, I do believe, is the best painting product that you can use on clothing to adhere for long term. This is an exterior acrylic. What I want to show you is how it doesn't even crack. You see? So what I'm going to do is I am going to adjust some of the colors that I don't like on this today and make this a little bit more vibrant, and to show you how easy that is to do. So in case you actually work on a project and you don't like the way it comes out, we can adjust that. Oh yeah, get a couple more. Now I don't know if I'll get to finishing all of these in one day, but it'll be very interesting to see how much we can get done. This here is just a pair of skinny leg jeans. I love the idea of wearing them with something that's very large and boxy on top of them, but I don't love the color. So what I wanted to do is add on some detail to this just to show you what you can actually turn them into. And the same goes with these wide leg jeans. I'm going to adjust some of the pockets, but I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do with that. And then we started this project a few months ago, and like anyone that works on upcycle projects, you might end up having a a large pile list, which we do to finish projects. But this one here, I'm going to finish sewing this so that Heather can put this on later today and wear it. So we'll start with this little corset that Heather's trying to make into a belt to wear. You can see in here twice as much yellow as there is blue, and the white that you see there, that's just a textile medium. There's a few drops of that in. That's going to help when you iron or heat set the paint. After it's cured for a couple of days, you can just literally go ahead and, now I don't measure, I just eyeball. So this is about as vibrant of a green as I'm going to get. I'm too yellowish, so I have to add a little more of the blue in when I compare it. I can put a dot down here and just see how it's coming in comparison, but you see it's too yellowish. So I just go ahead and put in a little more of the blue. So I'm going to, because I have to do 2 coats, I'm just going to start without the silver, and I'm just going to rub on a very thin coat. And I just want to show you how quick we can do this, okay? This is a 1-inch brush just from the dollar store. And the key when you're putting on acrylic paint, just put it on real thin, okay? That's it. It's a lot of fun to see how quick these projects actually come about. See how I'm rubbing it out? Just keep stretching that paint out. I love quick projects. Don't worry if the colors, you know, on your brush, you might end up having a little more yellowish in spots. You're going to do 2 coats on this anyhow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this just dry naturally, which will take about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then I'll come back to this project and I'll go on to another project. It's really a great idea to be able to work on multiple projects at once. And the reason I find that that works well is that you're not thinking about it too much. Okay, I'm just going to let that dry naturally. As I said, it'll take about an hour, hour and a half, and I'm going to go on to another project. So when you're sanding these shoes, whatever sandpaper you have is probably fine, but you don't want something that is too coarse, okay, as far as the sandpaper. You want to have something that's a little bit more of a medium or a fine. This is probably a very common 100 grit sandpaper. So that's basically it. If you had anything like a higher number from that, that would be good too. I think that this one here is a 60. So that's going to be a little rough for sanding shoes, so a little bit finer. And just do it by hand. Don't use a sander. And just rub it just gently. You can see it coming off right here. Okay, these are all sanded, and you can see how it's just a little bit, I didn't take off all the original paint. It was just a little bit here and there, but I've got it all buffed out. After you paint these, you can sand the paint in between layers. So if you have any bumps, it's not a problem. Here we have some red, a little bit of white, and some blue. We don't need any textile medium because we won't be ironing or heat setting these shoes, but they will be waterproof, which is awesome because it is an exterior paint. You can see down here the pink that we're trying to match, so I'm just guessing. So we'll wait and see how close we get. And I might have to add some white into it to adjust the color. I might have too much blue in this. I might have went a little bit too, so I can always adjust the color. These are just dollar store brushes. This is a red sable hair brush. It has a little bit of a finer bristles. This spreads like soft butter. So there you go. Don't worry about it being perfect because you're going to do multiple coats. And I am going to be doing the straps. One of the things I've learned from children is when I've worked with children, I taught a lot of programs. I don't know if I was a teacher as much as I was a student. Created collaborative projects with all ages, adults and children. And one thing I learned from the children was imperfections actually can make anything look more perfect. When you become an adult, we're kind of taught the opposite. That you know, perfections are an exact But really they're not in many ways. Sometimes they are, but when it comes to fashion, these little imperfections that you might have with the way you paint something, the way you piece together clothing, can make it look unbelievable. So I'm just getting a thin layer on here, and you can see how quickly it's going. Probably took about 10 or 15 minutes to get the first coat on. So just going to take a little bit of sandpaper to this leather bag, give it a light rub, take some tooth. You can probably see the color changing a little bit. So I have more blue than red, mixing it together, and this is going to give me a really deep purple. If you actually mix blue and red together and you have the right percentages and you have more blue than red, if you do multiple coats of that, it'll appear to be a charcoal gray or deep black if you do enough coats, which is amazing. The difference between black and multiple coats of a deep violet is that this reflects beauty in color, where the pigment from black isn't as appealing. So this is how quick this is. This is real simple. And just don't worry about it, because you're going to do multiple coats, so you're just really trying to get a thin coat on right now. Just rub it right out. Don't worry if it coats well. We have a first coat on some of the bag and the handle. We're going to let that dry naturally and come back to it in maybe an hour. Heather and I just loved this rug. The beauty, the vibrancy, and the lion and the cubs and the whole landscape. Just amazing. We experimented. Heather tried it around towards her neck, yep, and seeing if we could make a vest out of it, but the colors are so vibrant, they just don't look that good up near the face. So we found out that it was best down below, and we love the idea of a skirt of sorts. The one area that we didn't like was that the ruffle on the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and this is going to be one of the easiest projects ever. But we'll just start with cutting off the ruffle on the edge. There's still a price tag on there, $7.99. Use an old pair of scissors to cut the tag off. Try not to ever use they're good scissors for sewing and cutting. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and cut off with a zigzag and get the red right off of this fabric. I found it was a distraction, so when you're making a skirt out of it, so we'll take it right off. See how that looks. It's okay if it has a little bit of a frayed edge. Yeah, that's nice. There. Hey, I'll save this material, never know what you can use it for. And later today when Heather gets up, we'll try this on her. You can see there's a little bit of the paint that came off over here. So I'm just taking some blue with a little bit of the textile medium into some of the leftover paint that I already had from the bag. And I'm just going to mix it up. And that's going to get me a very, very, very dark blue. I'm just going to lighten it a little bit. I'm going to take out some of my leftover paint here from the shoes, and I'm going to mix it in, and I'm going to get a fairly dark color here, and just a little small amounts of paint. You can see how I can just go ahead and dab it on. I'm going to bring out Just added some more textile medium and a little bit of white paint to make a light purplish color here. Light purplish gray. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the top of my brush. I'm going to fade in some clouds. I have a board underneath here, in between the t-shirt, the back of the t-shirt and the front. And that's just helping so that I don't have the paint go through to the back of the shirt. Just going to use what's in my brush with a little bit of white, put it right on this board. I don't really have any rules. You can mix wherever you want. And I'm just getting an off-white. I'm just going to add a little bit of the detail. I'm pretty happy with that for now. Really broke up the edges. And a lot of detail. These wide-legged jeans were missing their buttons when we found them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut off the pockets. And we are going to do some detailed artwork on them. When I wear these jeans, because the waist is extremely large, I have to pull it in. So when I'm going to paint an image on here, I have to understand that I might lose some of the image towards the waist because of the way it pulls in. So you kind of have to think of that when you're going to incorporate what you want to actually paint on your jeans. One thing that you'll notice about painting on jeans is that, or painting on anything, is that the paint, if you get multiple layers on, it becomes kind of a thick surface. So for something that you want to have a really nice soft feel to, you might not get that. So with jeans, it's very much a safe bet to be able to do any sort of painting on, because they're already a thick type of material. Just added my birth date using some of the leftover paint right now from the shoes, and I added some of the textile medium in. And once again, not thinking too hard, just going ahead, and I wanted to put some flames down here. I like that idea. I like the idea of water, fire, and air symbols. Just putting it on real thin. It's mainly leftover paints that I like to use. Try not to think too much, just go ahead and follow along what you see. I want to add a little bit of water in here, and I don't know if it's going to end up looking like water, but I'm just going to kind of follow the patterns that I'm seeing in the jeans right now and see what happens. It's mainly the color that I'm interested in. I think I'll bring a little bit of this blue down. Try to draw the eyes up and downward a little bit more. You can always go back with some gray if you want to take down the color a little bit. I just like the motion going up and downward. Love the idea of some shooting stars. Just following the direction of the pants, the way they're folding right now. Not thinking too much. This is just a light purplish gray. Inconsistency is a really good thing to learn how to do when you're creating nature. That's why not thinking can really help you. Find when you overthink, sometimes you want to create everything perfect in line and separated. Adjust the color as you go along. Right now I'm just trying to get a little bit of vibrance in these shooting stars. This is so much fun. Taught several thousand children and adults over about 30 years of my life in the visual arts, and what I learned from that experience, which once again I was more of a student than I was a teacher, I felt like that anyhow, was what I learned was that there's so many people that just didn't think they had this ability to be able to create their own ideas, be able to produce visual art, in some form, whether it was creating an amazing design for a concrete sculpture or beautiful animals on velour. Or shaping pottery on a wheel. We did just about everything in the visual arts world. We did a lot of different things. Just people chose what they like to do, and we went to it. Everybody's working on their own projects, and it's so much fun. But you can do this. Anyone can do this. Really trying to get the eyes going up and down a little bit more with the direction of line, and that's starting to happen. Okay, we'll let this dry now and move on to another project. See how vibrant this pink is in the bag that Heather wanted on the shoe, and we're not really getting that. We're getting a more grayed down version on the actual shoe here for the first coat. So what I did here is I took a little bit of the blue and red that we originally had made, mixed in with some white, and I added it to some red and some silver and mixing that together. Now this vibrancy is pretty good, but it's not great. So it's going to give you a more of a shine, as you can see there, but it's not going to give you that vibrancy of the pink that you see in here. Now there are a couple different colors mixed in with that on the bag. There is some reds too. So that's kind of a little bit deceiving, the different threads that are on there. Just bound to put this together. That's about as good as we're going to be able to do with this type of paint. The clear coat that we put on top of this shoe, that will actually bring out the vibrancy. Just a nice thin coat. Second coat usually goes on faster than the first coat. I might do a third coat. I might try to make it a little more of a light pink on top. Just about done the second coat. So this is the green that Heather wanted to get. And after our first coat, we have more of it's closer to an olive green, and this is more of a viridian. I just added a little more blue into the yellow. I didn't add any metallic into the paint. We're going to see how that goes for a second coat. I really love sharing this with you guys. I love sharing it because these are easy projects, and they might, maybe to, some people, they do appear to be hard. They're really not. As long as you're open to that imperfections are an okay thing. You don't have to have something exact. You see how I'm just rubbing this on real thin. Thin is important. came out pretty good. Multiple coats will bring up the vibrancy. Here's the first coat on the bag that we had painted. We used 2 parts blue and 1 part red, which made a deep purple. But when you do multiple layers, it'll turn into a dark gray. We had a brown backing on this, so that helped. You can see how I might have missed a few spots in here to do that a little bit better. But I did get some of the dark on. And I'm going to have to switch to this side now and get this done. Don't worry about getting it on the metal, because you can immediately wipe it off easily. Acrylic doesn't really stick to metal anyhow, so you can always go back to it. Only if the metal has the right primer on it. It's a big process. We got that all done. We'll let that dry, and then we'll be able to do a second coat. I like the way this is looking, a little bit broken up around the edges. I can still see a little bit of the edging. I'll be using leftover paints. Hi, Rusty. I'm pretty happy with this. See what Heather thinks. Just going to add a little bit of green into where the trees are. This is a great way to take a t-shirt, be able to just add details to it, make it come to life. You can probably see the difference in the color of the corset turned into a belt versus the fabric that Heather wanted the color to be. So a lot of times I use the more expensive final coats, whatever product I'm using, on top of the base coats, so that I can save money at the same time. I can get a wonderful color, a wonderful vibrance on top. A lot of times in order to create the vibrance you have to get a good sealant underneath. So for this color here I'm just using Liquitex acrylic paint, which actually isn't that expensive, but it is more expensive than what I'm using currently. So I'm going to use this. We're going to see how it goes. Okay, so you can probably see that this is a little dark. It's getting a little more bluish in color. So we're getting closer. But what I need to do is lighten this a little bit, and I already mixed white into here. That's all I did. All I needed to do here is just add a little bit of gold into it. We'll see what happens when I do that. Here's a container of metallics and gold. See what happens when we mix a little of this in. Alright, I just had to add a little bit more gold into this paint, but I just wanted to show you what the color looks like and comparison to what I'm trying to get. This is a perfect example of how you have to use a metallic in order to get that vibrance of this might be a mixture of silk and some other material in this, but it's just beautiful. So this will give a nice shine to the paint. So I really want to make sure this gets on thin, and check for any areas that you didn't quite get a good coating, like underneath the lace here. I'm just kind of pushing it up. Sometimes you want to stretch out whatever you're using, if it's got a stretchy material, to be able to see if there's any spots that you could still get. But it's very important to get this on thin. This is going to be more of a belt, so Heather's not as concerned with how stiff the material becomes. She does like materials to feel soft, but because this is going to be a belt, we're going to be able to work with this okay. I wanted to show you this the second time around, how much in reality I'm using of the green versus the gold, and then you see the white in the bottom, and then to the right side I have a little bit of the textile medium. Okay, so there you go. We'll see how that mixes up, and if it's not quite right, I'll adjust it. Most likely I'll just have to add more green if anything. I probably should have used a bigger container. When you're mixing metallics with colors, you'll find that you use very small amount of color with metallic to make a color, if you do see metallic in the color. Now let's just see how that color did. I think I'm a little bit light. Yeah, it's looking a little bit light on color for me. So I'll just go ahead and add a little more of the green in. Zigzagging your brush back and forth many times, that really will help make sure that you get it well coated. Just kind of really fast movements. Fast motion. You don't need really expensive brushes to do most of anything when it comes to artwork. I use mainly dollar store brushes. There, we're done with that. Heather's new belt. Now we're just going to let that dry. Second coat of these shoes came out. Well, they're not quite the color that Heather is looking for. So I'm going to use this acrylic paint, and it is acrylic polymer. This is going to really add the vibrancy. It's funny, I think these were donated. Just wanted to show you this. I just keep reusing these, or the plastic lids from when we buy something, and try to reuse these lids as much as possible, but just peel off the acrylic paint. I start over with a new color, so it's pretty easy to do. So I just mixed in a little bit of white paint in here, and I just wanted to show you how it compared. I don't know if you can get the right lighting on it, but there's a couple different color thread in the actual design of this flower, so it's kind of hard to pick out, but this is kind of a magenta that I've got going here. So we're liking that color. Heather, that's exactly what she wanted, so we're going to go with it. Alright, there's the third coat, the final coat on the shoes. And I really like the hot pink with the orange. See what Heather thinks when she wakes up. So this brown, it was a light rusty brown leather handbag that I just love, but I wanted to change the color, so this is the first coat of acrylic, and I did sand the bag lightly, I do believe, before I started this. I just wanted to show you how well the acrylic will adhere right onto this bag. So here's a piece of 100 grit sandpaper. You see how it's just kind of, that's just the dust coming off of it, but it's just really not coming off at all, the bag. And that's quite remarkable. I'm even sanding along where the threading is. So it kind of gives you an idea of how well this will adhere. I can do the same thing with the handle. Right now I'm just trying to think about what color do I really want this bag. So I think I want it fairly dark. So I think I'm going to just go with another coat of 2 parts blue, 1 part red, and get a really deep purple. And as you can see, that purple turns into more of a dark gray. So this 2 parts blue and 1 part red makes a really deep purple, but when you do multiple layers, it does turn into a dark charcoal gray. If I wanted to make this more of a brown, a chocolate brown, I just add a speck of yellow into it. Now I'll just hang that up to dry. So I got an idea on these pants. Shooting stars on top. And I'm going to do all the detail on them now. I don't worry about any detail in the first layer, just kind of throw on an idea. I'm going to start with using some of this leftover paint. The only thing that I do, I have to add some textile medium into it because I didn't have any in the paint because I didn't need it for the bag. because you're not going to wash the bag. It's waterproof, the paint for the bag. But so this is just that kind of purplish color, and I just kind of wanted it to darken, taking some of the gray out of the areas down here around the flames. And I want to kind of drop in a purple behind it, a deep purple, or it's going to turn into more of a dark gray, and these are gray pants already, so just kind of get a little bit of that color in. I want to soften a little bit of the blue. It's going to bring this up a little bit. I'm just going to rub a very thin layer on. That's one thing I love about this exterior acrylic paints, is that they spread so easy. And I don't worry if I get it on top of the flames, because I'm going to go over with a more vibrant coat. The first coat's really just to seal. It's like a sealant. You're working it like kind of like a primer. It's amazing how many clothing products you don't need primer on. You go right with the paints, so it's exciting. And you can thin out acrylics up to 10%. Most acrylics up to 10% water, so without it not being able to be washable. Still using this darker color paint. I'm just going to kind of thin out and accentuate the lines on the shooting stars by adding a little bit of this dark on. Just using what they call a fan brush. I don't have too many really in good shape brushes right now, but I just make do with what I have, and that's what you do. You just make do with what you have and don't worry about it too much. It doesn't have to be exact. Just having fun with this. I'm going to just use the tip of this fan brush, and I just kind of want to break up with the dark. It'll kind of add a little detail to it, but I want to kind of make it feel aged. I like the idea of adding your birth sign or your date, something that's meaningful to you, something that's happy. We believe that just sharing love is just such an important thing with everything. Realizing that you can find the good in everybody. You really can. So that's what we kind of live by, Heather and I. We're really happy with living that type of life, trying to find the positives and the happy within everything. Cooperation and collaboration. We love hearing from you guys. We love learning from everyone. So one of the most fun parts of actually making these videos is actually hearing your comments and being inspired and learning from you. Or you comment on things that we don't even think of talking about, which kind of brings up another topic. I'm going to cheat a little. I like the faded look with these pants, so I'm using this acrylic. And you can use acrylic without the textile medium if you don't have it, and still wash your clothes. The main thing is heat setting it. But you know, it will fade or come out over time. But I'm just going to use some of this gold and kind of create some stars. I love the gold paint. Just love it. When I'm making this color here, it's mainly yellow, very small amount of red. I'm just using this fan brush because the fan brush can actually get nice skinny edges, and it can do wide lines at the same time. You can do little dots with it. You can use it as a point brush. Okay, getting the flames on. Just adding a little bit of details. Here's the way the flames will swirl around. I'm going to take the leftover green that I had from the belt, corset, and I'm just adding a little bit of blue into it. And I'm just going to use a small amount of paint here. Just going to scrape off the sides. Happy with the color. And I think I'm just going to draw some lines going down. Just want to draw the viewer's eyes up and downward. Not concerned so much about the imagery, whether it's rain or whatever it is, as I'm concerned with the colors Let's see if I can just add a little bit of this color on the shooting star. I feel like these are a fun pair of jeans that I would wear out. I love the colors. I love the idea of you being able to do your own design, whatever you want. I love that about sharing this so that you guys can create your own, and I love to see them. So this pajama top, I don't know if you saw a good close-up of this earlier, but when I squish this together, you can see how it kind of holds its form. So if you put too many coats on, it loses that soft feel. And I apologize if I haven't made that clear in the past videos, but it all depends what, like for example, see the inside? It's not coming through for the most part, so it's still soft on the inside, but the outside of the top, it does get thicker, and some people don't like that feel. I know Heather loves soft and fuzzy, furry, silky, but with this project, I started out with no ideas. I knew I wanted to color coordinate, but I didn't like the way the brown came out, so I'm just going to switch it up right now and do some highlighting. Changing up the color, a little bit more of a vibrant orange. I love orange against blue. It just really works well together, I feel anyhow. So I'm going to hair dry this and then we'll get on to a little more details. I'm going to take some of this leftover paint that I had from the belt. Still wet. Usually you get a couple hours of use out of them, the colors, before they get too hard to work with because they dry out. I like to keep recycling the paints, reusing them, the colors as much as possible, so when you have multiple projects going at the same time, you don't just not get to think about what you're working on too much, you also get to use up all the paints that you've been making, so you don't have any waste. I'm not really thinking too much here. I want to draw my lines, the lineage. I want to draw a little more. There's kind of a lot of chaos up here. Didn't really know what I was going to do initially, but I want to kind of just draw my eyes more up and down direction. It's nice to know your colors in advance of doing this. I know this is where it gets confusing. Talk about color, form, and movement. They're the only three words you really need to know in visual art. It's funny when I think back to all the people I've met in my life, how so many architects that I've met have said the main focal point for them to be able to understand architecture is visual art. And all these photographers I've met in my lifetime, professional photographers, some of them just unbelievable careers and storyline. They say the same thing, visual art. And fashion designers, same thing. It's amazing how powerful understanding color, form, and movement is, and just really getting a good grip on when you're thinking about colors. Yellow, blue, and red. Just understanding how the yellow, blue, red, orange, purple, green combine best with each other. So there is best combinations. It's like blue and brown, one of the best combinations ever. I'm going to switch up the browns up here, and I think one of the best coordinating colors with orange is purple. So I'm going to look for a vibrant purple, and that purple I'm going to keep as a bluish purple, so it's going to offset the blue, I think, really nice. So here's the textile medium, my red, blue, white, and let's see what type of purple I get. I like that. It's a medium shade. I don't want it to overpower where your eyes just go to this purple. So I want to kind of try to keep it simple. Let's just see how this goes on. And I'm okay with showing some of the brown through. I just mainly want to kind of bring the lines up and down. Just highlighting a little bit of the white. Trying to get a little bit of the cloud formation. Softening in the bottom. Maybe I'll have a little more going over the Eiffel Tower. And everywhere else is looking pretty good. I'm liking it. So I thought I'd show you a few projects that Heather's currently working on. The first one, this jacket, she's going to dye. She doesn't like the white. White doesn't look that good on her. So she's going to dye it. And she's just using the RIT. There's synthetic dye with RIT, and there's the natural dye. So you just have to make sure you're using the right one. I love to experiment and try to break the rules and see if something will work. And usually what I find every time I experiment with RIT and see if I can use a natural dye for a synthetic, it doesn't work. It washes out for the most part. So you do have to make sure that you have the right type of RIT dye. But anyhow, she's gonna dye this white jacket a teal, and then she has the idea. She's found these thrifting various tea towels. We're gonna glue these onto the back with a actual a backing that I'll show you how to do that, to iron it on. And it's a real simple way to be able to stick this on with an actual glue tape, so you don't have to do any sewing. So this is very exciting. She's also going to put a few patches on the front. So you'll be able to see this project in the upcoming videos, see how these steps come out. And this one here, I love this. This is just a house coat, pajama house coat. And this is what we love, because you can get these for, well, for about $1, $2, some stores thrifting. And she has some other ideas for some colors that she's also going to work in the patches that she would like to actually add on to these. She loves the idea of the texture, so we'll have to wait and see, and this is very exciting. If you guys have any questions about how to do any of these projects, just send a comment to Heather and I, and we'll get back to you. These shoes, they have a little bit of a shine to them. That's from the polymer in the paint, and the coats came out nice hot pink. I love it with the orange. This is like a very close to a vermilion. Now I'm going to add a clear coat to really give them a shine, the hot pink. And so we're going to use a clear coat from using you put on hardwood floors. You will be able to put it on. You can put multiple coats on if you want to really give it a shine, just like you would with hardwood floors when you're finishing them. But this is a product that dries in 2 hours, and you can put on another coat after that, and then just let it cure for a good day. This is the clear coat right here. Kind of looks like white. When you put it on the brush, it looks more of a milky. And you just want to spread it out thin. You don't want it to run onto the orange. That will be something you have to be really careful with. Otherwise you'll have a shiny orange base, shiny vermilion. I love the idea of being able to try to make these projects accessible to everybody online. A lot of the projects you see online, they're exciting to watch, but they can be very complex, and I think it's hard for people to imagine them doing it themselves. So I'm trying to focus on projects that are realistic for anyone to be able to try and achieve and feel good about what they did. Just actually changing the color of a shoe. It's something we all have, shoes, and a lot of times we end up wanting to get rid of them because of maybe the color, or the style, And you can change the look of the style just by changing the color. So it's very exciting. So there's the first coat of clear coat. This is awesome. Can't wait to see what it looks like when it dries in 2 hours. Let's give a little hair dry to this shirt, just added a little bit more orange. I like to kind of group all my painting projects together. If I have a bunch of projects and I'm going to have sewing projects too, or working with various fabrics with fabric glues, I like to do that separately. Mainly because these paints, they only stay wet, workable, for an amount of hours before they really tack up and they make it very difficult to work with. So I don't like to waste anything, so I like to go from project to project and just kind of keep using the paints that I already have, if I do have leftovers, and try to utilize them. So I'm just working on the back side of these pants. I'm just kind of putting on a few flames. Not really worrying about too much of the details. Just getting the first coat on, which is going to seal it. Nice and thin. So I'm not going to really think too hard here. Just want to kind of bring in some of the blue. Make this stand out a little bit. I like variety in different shades, so I have a little bit of a teal, greenish. Added a little bit of yellow into this. Trying to get a variety. The shades of blue. And I left some dark blue right in the container here, so I can add in some darker colors too. Time for some shooting stars. And I'll basically get a light gray with a little bit of paint that's left over in there. And I'm just going to start bringing with my fan brush down some lines. And I can be very consistent with this. Not worried about the thickness. I can always thin it out with gray later. So you don't have to be worrying about straight lines. You don't need to be able to paint straight lines in order to do this well. I might even actually use the design in here to actually have a kind of formulate of stars shooting off. These are wide leg or wide pants, so when I do put them on, a lot of this won't even show in the way you see it as far as the stars, so just have fun with it. So I like that, what's going on there. I'll go ahead and use some of that leftover teal that I had. A little bit of the light gray here. I'm just going to add a little bit of the color onto these edges onto the shooting stars to give it a little more of an appeal to me. Just going to go ahead and brighten these up. I'm just going to make up some medium shade gray, a little bit of a purplish gray here, and I'm just going to thin out these shooting stars, add some beauty to it. So these are starting to come to life. I'm going to leave it alone and we're going to go on to another project, let these dry. And you can always add more details once you've put them on and you see you want to adjust something. It's not a big deal, it's just paint. Have fun with it. This is so exciting. When we find this is real fur. When we find real fur, and this was I think $4 or $5 this bag. We just can't pass it up. We want to appreciate the animals. And we think that you're showing an appreciation by utilizing what was already there. So this strap had broken on this. And I've never fixed a strap like this before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hot glue gun, and I'm going to try to fix it right now. The next furthest one away is this one right here, and it's already been up, so it's going to go underneath. So I just put a little bit of glue right here, stick it underneath. This one has to come right over. It's just making sure you have the width right. Okay, this one's already been up, so it's going to go underneath. This is definitely a tricky thing to do. Imagine it takes a little bit of practice. But we're coming along. You can see how this is looking like the pattern. Alright, for a first attempt, that's not too bad. It'll hold together, and I don't know if it'll matter too much once we get it on as a strap. So this used to be a wedding dress that we thrifted. I couldn't believe it when we saw it. Yeah, I think it was $49. We were able to utilize it to make several pieces out of it, but this is probably the piece that Heather's the most excited about. So we dyed this in it was synthetic material, so we had to dye it in a synthetic dye, but it's charcoal gray, and it has multiple layers. And what I'm going to do is just hand sew this together right now to get the piece together. And Heather doesn't quite know how we're going to put it on her, but we're going to find a way. And hopefully she'll have this on this evening when she wakes up from her night shift. Using some black polyester thread. I'll go around the waist first before I go ahead and pull in the bottom. I love mixing up, working in different types of projects, and not just working on one project within a day. I like multiple projects. It's just so much fun. Nice to take a break from painting and get into sewing. Really like this. So I got the waist sewed up pretty much the way I wanted it to look. I might have to pull it in a little bit more for Heather's waist size. But right now what I'm doing is I'm just taking individual little sew jobs, and I'm just tightening up areas and puffing up areas that are going to cover the underneath. And I want to create a little more ruffle. So we'll see how this goes. I think the back side has more to pull in, right in through here, you can see. So I'll sew that up together and pull the dress up a little. I know that Heather wanted it to sag onto one side a little more, so that's what we're doing. All right, what do you guys think? I love the way the ruffles are. I didn't bore you with all the sewing I did, but it did take about a couple hours to do. It's quite extensive. I love the way all these ruffles are going. Can't wait to see this on Heather. I did have to pull in quite a bit. You can see how it's shorter on the back side. Now we might switch that around. She might have it longer on the back and shorter on the front. I'm not sure, but we'll have to play with it. But it's really so much fun to be able to upcycle. Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh my goodness.
I think it turned out great. I mean, what a way to take a wedding dress and totally change it.
Yeah.
And I do like these poof skirts that I see a lot of people styling. And what a kind of a unique way to have a poof skirt, right?
Oh, that's really
Kind of
amazing.
like
Wow. Yeah. And we can do some adjustments later, Heather, if you want.
I have it kind of clipped at the side here. But, I mean, even if you just had kind of a cool kilt pin, it's just kind of unique. I really like it, actually. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, this costume I have on, you could kind of dress it down a little more with like a black t-shirt that's kind of frilly.
I love it.
And of course, you have to have the mask.
Yes. Look at the
Those days
details.
when I'm looking really tired. One of the things when we're thrifting that Dave and I sometimes miss is little flaws in the clothing. We're going to have to get a little better at it. So this piece, it had paint stains on it that I didn't notice when I bought it. And it wasn't very much money, this t-shirt. I think this was part of the $5 bag.
Yeah.
But you could take it and he just added some paint around it to kind of make it look like it belonged. And I really like the look. And you can wear that like with a lot of pieces. It's just nice to have this little kind of sparkle underneath and little shot of color. Very nice. I don't wear a lot of white. So I got this idea, I think it was off Pinterest. I saw somebody and they had a sweater, and I think it was part of the sweater actually that was green. But I thought, wouldn't it be a great idea for this to be green? This is exactly the color I wanted. And I'm going to take just some embroidery thread and just embroider some flowers kind of in this design here. Not a whole lot. I don't want to, but I thought just add pops of like orange and the bright pink and just really kind of make it
give it a little bit of texture too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I can just use it kind of as a belt, really.
Yeah.
And then, this is so exciting. And then these shoes, which I really liked. I love the orange color and this kind of suede fabric. I wasn't so crazy, and I loved actually how high they are, that they're a platform. But I wasn't crazy about the beige color with it. Hot pink, and I love this color with orange. And it turned out so good. Really love them. And you know, with a sock, like at this time of year, I think I could still probably get away with wearing them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not snowing yet.
Yeah.
Kind of it is, but.
And anyone can do this. This is like pretty simple to do. And if you have any questions, just comment and leave a message, and you know,
and I like how you left it this shiny.
Yeah.
You know, surface.
Yeah.
Because I like that patent look to it, that shiny look. And I wanted to keep it, so I love that. Really pretty, Dave. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When I'm off, I'm going to do a little more upcycling. I have a few ideas to do. I really love these flower corsages, and I've been getting all these ideas, like the knit corsages with flowers, and actually parts of this dress that I see that you had to trim away.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually use those in part of my flower corsage, because I think they'd be really cute.
Do you have any idea with the fiber that you have from the mill that you?
Oh, well, the fiber, the mill was closing. They had some fiber on sale. So I did purchase it because I do like to spin wool, and I do like to knit with it.
What type of fibers did you get?
I think it's mainly merino. There might be some that's a mixture. I did get a bag that's colorful. It has a lot of different colors, and it's a mix of fiber. I'm not sure, I'd have to read it. But I do plan on spinning that, and I have quite a few sweaters and different patterns that I've collected that I want to knit. Oh my gosh, I love that, Dave. That turned out great. So cool. Sorry.
Yeah. This bag used to be a vibrant color, and just painting it, it's amazing. This is leather. How just a couple coats of blue mixed with red, and how it goes on and looks like a dark gray when you're done. And it's waterproof. But just a simple way to change up the color of a bag. And a lot of times you have an accessory that you just don't like the color. So it's it's a great way to do it.
This turned out great.
It's fun.
Yeah, I do like this color a lot better, Dave.
Yeah.
I think it's a little more vibrant. And oh, that's really cool.
Well, it's fun, and I think that this piece here is all about the styling up. You know, it's what you wear it with.
And is there a reason you didn't do the collar? I'm noticing you didn't.
Yeah,
do the
because I really like the vibrance of the blue.
Yeah,
just like you did.
too.
And I didn't want to lose too much of it. But I just love this pajama top, but I think you can dress it right.
I just put this skirt on, and it was a rug. I think you can kind of still tell that it was probably a rug, a tapestry. And Dave just cut off the little trim, the tassel. And it does up in the back.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love it. It's not a real thick material, so it's heavy enough that it's nice and warm. But I love the image on it, and I love the colors. And I just put this on with it because that's all I have kind of over here right now, and I don't have a whole lot of time to style it up. But I'm looking forward to putting something with this. And I would probably change up the boots too. But if you have any comments too, or any suggestions
I love that.
on what colors
I
you
love
put.
that look.
I kind of like the green,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
I don't know.
It's fun, eh?
It is fun. It sure is. And I really like this image. I like how the lion is on the front. Hear me roar.
Yeah, and the little cub.
Yeah.
One more shift tonight, Heather, and then we're going thrifting.
Woohoo! It's like the carrot that's dangled in front of the...
Yeah. Well, hope you guys have a wonderful night.
Yes, we love you. Thank you for watching.